last tutorial, we covered empty elements, adding images to our page, and CSS properties for positioning, such as margins and text align. In this tutorial, we will be concentrating on adding anchor tags in order to create a website out of multiple web pages. The anchor element is defined by the tag A and is a regular HTML element that requires both an opening and closing tag. Along with content that will be used as a link that is interacted with by the user. An anchor can make the text, image, or other element that it encloses into a hyperlink. Anchors can take a number of attributes, but several are as follows. We have the Href attribute, which is used very commonly. This attribute's value specifies the URL or file for the link. For example, if we type www.mozilla.org, will be sent to that URL once we click on the content. We also have the title attribute. When we hover over the link, whatever we add as a value here will be displayed as a pop-up. And also the target attribute, which will, if set, allow us to create a new tab in our browser and have the content that the link is directed to display in that new tab. We'll get to the attributes in a moment. First, we need to create a new page in our project in order to link to it. We can do that by creating a new file. This file I'm going to call page2.html. In Atom, all I have to do is type HTML and hit tab, and I'll get the starter code for a new HTML page. If you can't work out how to do that on your own code editor, just type it out. I'll add a H1 element and just type this is page 2. Save that. And back in our index.html file, which will be our home page, back to our anchor tags. I'm going to change the Href. I'm going to change the Href to direct us to page2.html. We can do that by simply typing page.html. I'll save this. Back in our browser, I'll refresh. And now here you can see we have a hyperlink displayed. We hover over it and we get our pointer cursor. If we click on it, it directs us to page 2, our newly created page. Now we'll go back to our new page, page 2, and we'll add a set of A tags, opening and closing. We'll create a Href attribute and we'll direct it back to index page2.html. We can also, rather than just specifying the file name, as these two, both the index and the page2 are in the same folder, we don't have to necessarily do this, but it's good habit just to understand how things work. So we've got a full stop / this will direct it within that directory, because in the future we may have to go back some directories to find a page. We also need to add the content for our anchor tag. I'll just put this as home, save this, refresh, and we've got a new hyperlink here which will send us back to our home page. Quickly, I'm going to create a new folder just to show you the concept of file navigation. I'll call this view. I'm going to take page2.html and put it in our view. I'll rename this to views. Now this will hopefully throw up a few errors. As our page2 is in a different folder, we have to, in index.html, update. So we need to target the views folder, which is in the same directory as our index.html. But we also need to specify that we go to the view folder and then we search for page2.html. I misspelt that, should be views. Refresh. And we've searched for the views folder and then the page2 file. But if we hit home on page2, we again get the error. So in page2.html, we are currently in the views folder, and we have to go back to our main project file in order to find the index.html file. So we can easily do that by going back one directory by typing 2 full stops and a /. So it'll go back one directory and then look for index.html. I'll save this, refresh. And now it's working correctly. Back in our index.html file, we'll add another attribute to our anchor tags, which will be the title attribute. I'm just going to type to page 2, save this, refresh. And now as we hover over it, you can see next to the pointer, it has the title of our link, which we've specified as to page 2. We'll quickly go to page2.html, add another title. Save this, refresh. And again, the title's displayed as back to home. While we have been using text as the link that the user can interact with, we can also use images and other elements. We will be turning the image that we added previously into a hyperlink that directs it to the Mozilla HTML documentation that we have been using. We can do this by creating a set of opening and closing tags for a anchor element and wrapping it around our image itself. We can then specify the href, which will be equal to, I'm just going to go back to our browser, HTML docs, find the Mozilla documentation for HTML, copy that, and then paste that into our anchor tag under the href reference. I'll save this, refresh. We'll fix the problem we have here with the positioning in a moment, but we now have the finger cursor displayed, which means if we click this, we should be directed to the Mozilla documentation, which is what we wanted. Once we do click on our link embedded within our picture, or our picture with the link, we are directed to the documentation, but we are using the same tab to display the documentation when we do click on it. To open a new tab, when we do click on the link, we can specify a target attribute within our anchor tag. We type underscore and then blank and save. We'll refresh, and now we've created a new tab as we've clicked the image, so we still have our project displaying along with a new tab to display the documentation, just to clarify. And just a minor fix for our positioning of our image. I'll go back to style. We need to find image container. Here we're referencing image container and we're pointing to image, but as we've embedded the image element within the anchor element, we have to specify it look for anchor elements before the image element. I'll save that, refresh, and now we've fixed that problem. This will only be a temporary fix because it will have to be constantly updating what embedded tags we've used in order to display the correct CSS styling. In addition to our href attribute and target and title attributes that we can add to our anchor tag, we can also set a class name. I'll call this image link. Save this. In our CSS, I'll specify image link, and I'm just going to change the cursor. We've got a number of different cursors we can use. I'll just choose crosshair for now and save this. Refresh, and now rather than the pointer, we have the crosshair cursor. That's just a simple demonstration of adding a class name to a anchor tag. So that's the basics of anchor tags that allow you to turn multiple web pages into a legitimate website. you can take these concepts slightly further by using other elements such as divs as hyperlinks, but you should now have a good foundation to create your own web links to both your own pages and to other sites. In the next section, we'll be looking at lists.